Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. 121 people have died in a stampede at a religious congregation in Uttar Pradesh's Hathras district. Now, it was a case of overcrowding, police inaction, carelessness, and just a short while back, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath held a meeting with his officials and he's ordered a judicial inquiry into the case. Now, what has happened? An FIR has been registered against the managers of this big event, but the main godman, whose name is Bhole Baba. He was earlier a police constable, and in 1990, he took a voluntary retirement and he left the police service. And now he claims to be a Baba. He enjoys a big clout in the Braj area, in Kasganj area of Uttar Pradesh, but he's absconding. And also, his name is missing from the FIR. So, what are the big takeaways from this tragedy? Because earlier also, there have been many times when incidents like this have happened, inquiries have been ordered, but they haven't resulted in anything very tangible. And let me tell you, to give you the latest development, a PIL has also been filed in the Supreme Court, which has asked for the constitution of a committee under a Supreme Court monitored probe. That a probe should be done, some safety protocols should be put in place. So, how do these incidents, what kind of an impact do they leave on the society? And we look at both the aspects, the legal and the socio psychological aspect as well. Joining me now is former IPS officer Yashovardhan Azad. So, thank you so much for joining. We have Arun Agarwal, who's a Supreme Court lawyer. He joins us. Thank you so much for joining. And I'll begin with Mr. Azad. Uh, what would you say, really, Mr. Azad, to this incident which has happened? 121 lives, mostly it was women and children who have succumbed to death. And the biggest irony, the godman, in whose hope people used to go to him, he's absconding.
Well, it's a tragedy I mean, it's just such a shock. And those scenes that we are seeing on the TV and in the media, which has come out, is absolutely heartrending. I would first like to say that a tragedy of this kind, unprecedented as it is, could see it coming. In various districts, these various kinds of programs which are being organized, where there are no safety, parameters which are implemented, all the safety guidelines are in fact flouted. The permissions are given just like that. In this particular case, he was given permission for the simple reason that he's connected with a lot of authorities, with a lot of politicians and other people who are the high and mighty. Otherwise, if you are asking for a program, a kind of a satsang during the afternoon, and where you are expecting 80,000 people to come, inevitably where more than 80,000 would come, it was expected. You just don't give permission because there are no facilities. Secondly, the ground conditions were absolutely horrible. It was not even a plain. There were a lot of stones and rubble on the ground itself. There was a train nearby. There were no entries and exits properly planned. I can say it with authority, with my experience, that if you have 1.5 lakh people, this is around the kind of meeting we organize for even prime ministers, and for which nothing less than 500 policemen are required. So in this case, if you think that a couple of sevadars who don't even want the district administration or the police to participate because, they want to keep it absolutely secret because of the chandas and because of the personal kind of showcasing they do, where they have the organized, hands who dance in front and show their obeisance so that the others are impressed, collecting more and more chandas. It's just horrible that it goes on, and all religious places connected. There are stampedes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but does it appear many times that the police also deliberately, many times, is stopped from entering the inner circle of these godmen, or where all these events are happening? Or does it happen that way, that many times the policemen are stopped from entering the inner circle?
You're absolutely right. Even in Ram Rahim's case or other case, they want their personal bodyguards. They don't allow the police to come in. And technically, Neelu, the question is that if there are, 40 functions or 10 functions in a metro like Delhi, you can't employ 10,000 policemen, right? It's not our job. The job of a policeman is to be involved with state functions, traffic, law and order, other situations. So private functions, it is incumbent upon the organizers to adhere to the set down guidelines which are given. So they apply for permission. The police gives the permission outlining the conditions, and then they are supposed to obey the guidelines. In this particular case, I do appreciate the fact that in a place like Hathras, the collector or the SP should have sort of have their own antenna open too. That listen, the 80,000, the crowd is already 1.5, so our intelligence, the drones, etc., should be employed, and there should be people outside. In this particular case, the 40 policemen were outside, and at that point, the intervention, it was too late. So, and then again, the worst is that the kind of relief which came was woefully inadequate. But that is to be expected. And that's exactly the point because of which the permission should not be given. And last point, Delu, I mean, who is this Baba? There are all the allegations against him of a similar kind of activities even earlier. Now, given all those conditions, if you are forced to give a permission, then obviously you have to face the music.
Right. Mr. Agarwal, there's a PIL which has been, and a judicial inquiry has been ordered by Yogi Adityanath. There is a PIL in the Supreme Court. Do you think that the time now is ripe to regulate the way these godmen work? They are putting the lives of simple, ordinary men to such a risk. If there is a VIP, there is a separate gallery for a VIP. He will never become a victim to any kind of stampede. But look at the women, the children, the small infants who were there, in the laps of their mothers. They have succumbed to death today. How will the accountability be held, and can Supreme Court really take a suo motu cognizance now that the PIL has also been filed, a judicial inquiry has been ordered by Yogi Adityanath? How else can one expect that the accountability should be held? Because each time this kind of an incident happens, the furor is there for a few days, and then everybody forgets about the episode.
I'm tempted to say as to how many stampedes will it take for them to make the regulation. Going back to the answer, my friend is blowing in the wind. See, first of all, we have to realize that this godman is an industry, and this industry has to be regulated. And they are operating at various rungs of the affluent, and a godman for the poor, a godman for the rich. Right, go up to Chandra Swami, who was the godman to the then Prime Minister. So that if you recognize, then you'll have to make laws and make them responsible for whatever is being done. I'll just give you a quote, 2 lines from the New York Times, which describes everything, this thing. He says that he was an icon for the Dalit community, who are at the bottom of the rigid caste structure, who are denied entry into temples. And look at the perspective.
And this is this right godman himself, you're saying?
Yes, New York, because I subscribe to New York Times and Washington Post. So, and they're very sensitive. I mean, you'll find that the reportage on India is much better than what you get, especially in these tragedies and all. So what is the reporter trying to say? That these, and plus they say that there were people who thought that they would get an instant cure. So that is the other side of it, that the health aspect, where you have all these village this thing that if I go there and he'll cure me of this thing. So it's based on ignorance, illiteracy, blind faith. All these are a part of that structure, and restricted entry into temples, plus going where you can meet your own caste brethren and all that. So it's a heady mixture. So that's the demand side. On the supply side, you have these people who have assessed that there is a demand over there, and they cater to that public in that same way, provide them with entertainment. So 80% or 90% is the crowd pulling, which is for free, and the rest of it is for money making. and plus you have this whole organization going. All of them pull crowds. So none of them are made accountable, whether it is Baba Ramdev, who is at the apex of the pecking order of the gurus, or by him, even Sadguru in South, who is encroached on huge amount of land in the name of environmental protection. So all these people, they know that because they are popular, the politician will not go after them because they're sentimentally attached. So that will cost them the vote. So they are able to flout all these norms openly, and that is one of the reason why this person Baba Bhola or Bhola Baba, he has
Bhole
been
Baba.
not named FIR. After all, it was his sevaks, it was his function, it was his car which was going out. At least he could have stayed and given darshan, and he was absconding. And that is where the rush took place. People wanted to prostrate, get his blessing. How much time would it have taken had he, stayed for another half an hour and 1 hour to placate, to cater to the bhakts that had come? So these are all very gruesome aspect of it. Now coming to the PIL, now it has already been preempted. He has set up a judicial committee or commission. He has also set up a SIT with IG of Agra and all that. So the court can say, "Well, there is already a committee set up. What you wanted, the government has already provided. So why do you want me, the Supreme Court, to ask the central government to provide to a commission, which has already been done by the state government?" So these people, they act fast. They understand the pulse, and they are preempted it. But still, I would like to praise whoever that person, Vishal Tiwari, who went to the court.
His file,
Sensitive,
yeah.
yes, he's sensitive enough. I can see there is a poor drafting of language, but he's sensitive enough to immediately take up the matter. So there are people who are concerned, who are do-gooders, and we are having this type of stampedes. And the other point that my friend Yashwardhan Azad made about drones, I mean, we are talking about forensic in evidence, this, that. I assure you, a drone, a good for crowd management, which you can do from your own office, would not have costed them more than a lakh. I mean, I know the lower end of the drones. And you could have had an entire this thing on what, how much of crowd was coming, where it was located, and all that. So they won't use technology where it is required. And one drone would have been good for 40 policemen because you get a bird's eye view and where to reinforce. So all those things are in our technique. Why can't every district or this thing have at least 4 or 5 drones? Because they have all types of congregation going on, political, social, and religious. So that should also be high on the agenda whenever this thing is done.
Right. But Mr. Asad, if you talk about episodes like these, they are in dime and dozens. So many episodes have happened where stampedes like this in temples have happened, but each time an investigation was ordered, the reports haven't resulted in anything logical. And look at the kind of shoddy arrangements still, despite all the tall claims made by the government during the COVID times that look, we've propped up all the hospitals, and now there are enough oxygen plants at each center. But again, this particular district hospital at Hathras seemed to be, it didn't have any facilities. There were no doctors, there were no nurses, no oxygen plants. So what would you say? How serious?
Ambulances.
There were no ambulances. So how seriously are these preparations being taken up by the political class, by the administration? What would you say to that?
Two things. First is that as it is, the facilities, the medical facilities, the health facilities in every district of the country, they're woefully inadequate. All the doctors and all the hospitals, all the infra is in the metros or in top big cities because the doctors won't like to go to these small districts. That is a given. And that's why what is happening is that even the AIMs, in fact, one of the AIMs has opened in my district, Devghar, Godda, which is in Jharkhand. It's woefully inadequate. In fact, people for specialty treatment are still coming to Delhi. In fact, my elder brother, who's a doctor, was saying that every day he gets sifarish from the patients, not to go to Devghar, but in Delhi, where he had worked before. So that is a very sad, state of affairs. Secondly, for a situation like this, no way, there is just no adequate, relief which can be given. And that's more the reason why this kind of program should not be given any kind of permission. First of all, if the Baba wants to do it, this is not for a social cause. It's for his own cause, basically. So why don't you do it on a TV, spend money, have your own channel? There are people who have access to TV, access to their mobiles, or you want to do a function, then do it at a theater where you call about 250 people, and then you have a wide screen wherein from a Maidan people can watch it, so that there'll be no frenzy of this kind of a crowd. So many things can be done. Drones, technology, so many things. Now,
but
when you
feel that these
yes,
babas or the godmen, they are unaware of the kind of options they have in hand, or deliberately they try to create this religious frenzy, because it's not being done only by Bhole Baba. There are several other godmen who do and adopt this same kind of a strategy, creating that religious fervor. They will ensure that the crowds come at their feet. This whole ritual of distributing the prasad in abundance, and then nobody regulating how it's done. Simple things like stand in a queue and then take the dust or take the prasad from whichever godman you want. But these simple things also cannot be ensured at the level of the godman side.
I totally agree. You see, the issue is that these Babas, while earning millions and billions, I would say, I've seen their camps in Madhya Pradesh, and the dhams which they have, means that they have tremendous amount of money, wealth. Now, the question is, if you are putting together arrangements of 1.5 lakh people, which I think was the number over there, then you have to do huge arrangements. Abroad, any function you do of this kind, when they have an organization by Swift Taylor or somebody, they have a massive kind of expenditure on, on paramedics, on the ambulances which they hire, on these water centers, these quick relief centers. That's all spent by the organizers. The police is just there to see an overall arrangement, maybe flying a drone here or keeping a few flying spots here and there. Here, they don't want to spend money. And they don't want to spend the money because they know that they have the backing of the big people. As far as the religious gatherings are concerned, I'm a little disappointed with our own, temples, because they insist on keeping, in the name of traditions and in the name of, that Vedic concept of a garbhagriha, that where only a limited number of people can go. So obviously on Shivratri, on this, Ram Navamis, there'll be a surge of people going, and there'll be, of course, stampede. It's a ready reckoner for a stampede, but we don't want to change it. Why not have an open kind of a temple where, thousands of people can enter from various sides and do their namaskar and go? It's because they want the chadhavas, they want the money, and that is the most crucial thing. If these babas are not allowed, this kind of satsangs, but do it with technology, the politicians are doing the same. If the politicians also do campaigning through their TVs, because anyway they have captured the TV today, the medium, everything is about them. So we have to change, and if we
No,
don't
but
change,
Mr. Azad, is it true? You would be able to explain us better that does it happen that police officials are very, very reluctant sometimes in handling these godmen, knowing the fact that the kind of support they enjoy, the kind of political clout they have. So sometimes the police officials also withdraw from taking any strict action against the godmen, and there are many cases like that. So why does it
yeah.
happen so? Why can't the police pick up their conscience and have this thing in mind that look, the safety of the people who are coming in the crowd is much more paramount than just pandering to the clout of these godmen?
See, as Arun pointed out some time back, it's the blind faith of the people. It's a kind of a frenzy which people have. So the policemen don't want to lose that, the backing of the people by doing something which is contrarian to what the Baba's wishes, to the organizers' wishes, and also the people's wishes. So yes, it's a little sensitive matter, and they don't have. Plus, the Babas and the organizers don't want the police to come in. In fact, they only want the police to come in when something goes wrong. Otherwise, they want to manage everything. I'll give you a very simple example. When I was SP Sagar, there was somebody who was great a religious leader who had come, and he had camped outside the city, and everyone was visiting, and there was a huge crowd and things like that. And they wanted police presence to, and they also want to be shown as important people, so there should be police on the road only to show how important they are. And then, invitations came that I should visit him, and I refused. Then I got orders from so many places that you have to go. Finally, when I went to do namaskar and say, how are things okay? Then he wanted to ask and to be shown, take photographs. And so it's obvious what they do is to take the support of the district administration, take the support of the politicians, and enjoy this without spending a bit of money. And of course, they don't care a damn, because as you said right now, that once the thing happened, this fellow ran away. Otherwise, he could have footed the expenditure, medical expenditure of each and every one over there, and given the muawza also, which now the state government and the central government are.
Yeah. No, I mean, we need to talk about this man also, who's supposed to be the godman. Now, his original name was Suraj Pal. He's turned into a godman. In 1990, he took a voluntary retirement, and for 18 years he was into the service, I'm told, and what I've been seeing in the reports, that he was used to work with the local intelligence unit, and for 18 years he worked there, and then he took the voluntary retirement. Now there are all sorts of stories, Arunji, about him, that how he enjoyed his aura, how he enjoyed his cloud. There are all sorts of stories that people used to shower him with milk, and that same milk was used to prepare the paisam or the kheer, what you call in north, and that kheer was distributed as a prasad to all the devotees. Now, what would you say to this kind of a religious frenzy? I mean, if you say anything against such godmen, you will have 10 people pouncing at you that, look, you're anti-Hindu, or you belong to the left liberal gang, you don't believe in them. But then don't you think that the people need to be told, people need to be alerted, people need to be warned against such godmen? I mean, in the first place, how unhygienic it is that one is using the same milk, for consumption. After bathing him with milk, and that same milk being used to make the paisam, and then that is distributed as a prasad. How does one accept that?
No, it's not all that macabre as you make it sound. If the milk is boiled for long enough, and if it doesn't curdle, then at least it becomes antibacterial, so you don't have bacteria in it.
But the
And I'm sure,
fact that is
unless
bathed with the milk, and then the same milk is used for preparing paisam, that is so difficult to digest.
no, that is, you see, in milk, bacteria grows very fast. So it's a medium, and if you boil it, then all that is killed. Boil it for a certain amount of time, so that, and they won't make this thing, and it looks very, revolting the way you describe it. But if you take the medical aspect or this thing, then probably it will do much less harm than the water from the Ganga. So that apart, the fact is that our rural population has nowhere to go. This is their entertainment. This is their coming together. This is their solace. This is what, imagine a lady feels that if she goes, her chronic back problem or a joint problem will be cured. So it's back to the same, this thing, that nothing, dua, and I'll be cured. So these are supposed to be healers, miracle people who can, by the waving of the hand, cure people. So all types of symbolism. And they feed in it. They create that frenzy because they have their core supporters who will prostrate, who are actually this thing, and put up a show with all those waving and this thing in the crowd, and show that they are very popular people. So these are embedded in the crowd itself. So there is much to be said. And over here, what you were describing, I mean, I'm just speculating the cycle. This guy, he's in the police, makes enough money. Back 20, 30 years, land was cheap, buys land, part of it appreciates, puts up a whatever, a villa or whatever, this thing, and starts this business. That adds on. Now he is also, if he has put in 20 years of service, he is getting some pension from it, and at the same time he is doing this business. He has also laundered his ill-gotten wealth. Now he can launder it more, because you say all this has come from donation, and probably
Yeah.
somewhere he'll have a chartered accountant, he would have registered it as a trust. So if he wants to do it in white, well and good. If he wants to do it in black, then he'll keep on buying more land in Benami names. So you look at the economic I mean, there is whole lot of things to be said about this Babadom
Immense.
in India. Mhm.
No,
Look
but
at it
still,
always as a business.
right. No, no, of course it is a business. It's a huge industry, as you said. But the FIR has been registered against one of the managers, Dev Prakash Madhukar.
Mathur.
He's the man, he's the main accused. But in the
He,
FIR, the godman has
I
not been
don't think
named.
he's the manager. He's the local sponsorer who has got this. He's the middleman. See, I organize the show. I give you a certain amount. I collect X, and we split it 30, 70, 40, 60, 50, 50,
Yeah,
depending on. No, Yashwardhan, I'm telling you about a very big organized person whose camps
Uh,
take place in America.
tell us a
And
story about the 60-40 arrangement.
yes, and I know that, it is a ratio that you put up the show, you use my name, you sell my books. This is my brand. It is, we're doing yoga, your art of healing. So, I mean, it's
mhm.
almost given it
Yeah.
away. So, and we share the revenue.
You
It's
were
a
saying that
win-win situation
story of
for
shared
every.
profits
Yes,
on
for
both
the
sides for the
for the
godman.
organizer and for the disciples.
Hmm.
Everybody gets something out of it. But then that is the upper end of the strata which is being catered to. So
No, but
this
then
middleman,
right. No, but from what you're saying, Mr. Azad, I'll come to you now. That what is the guarantee that the policemen also they don't have their palms greased by these men only? I mean, the managers, the godmen, and which is why the police officials keep quiet on most of these incidents. Wouldn't that be also a possibility?
Well, I mean, there is a possibility that they might be, getting the favors of the policemen or the district administration to get the permission, in fact, at the first stage itself. And maybe there's quite a few, pennies here and there for them, because the actual, see, why is the money could be given? The money is given because they don't follow these standards. The standards, whenever you're having any kind of an event which involves more than 1 lakh people, there are certain standards to be met. Certain requirements, safety regulations, fire extinguishers, ambulances, things like that. Most important, the entries, the exits, then zones, areas, keeping a tactical distance and all that. So every organizer cuts corners in that. And to do that, uh, you have to have the backing. How do you get that backing? The backing is by greasing palms or whatever favors you have done to them earlier. And besides, if you have this kind of a following, then the politicians and the people back you up. The politicians back you blindly. They're not interested in you. They're interested in the votes which are there. And one important point which Arun mentioned is that, if these poor people belong to the, say, the Dalits, if they are Dalits or very, very poor people, and for them, they think this is aspirational, that you go there, you seek a kind of a blessing, this a kind of a healing. I remember this happened in Manila also, where I was studying at the Asian Institute of Management. Faith healers were really the order of the day. I'm talking about the 80s. So in that respect, you have to be very firm in not allowing these programs or allowing them under very, very rigid conditions.
No, but then another question, Arunji, is that in times when the political environment is so religiously surcharged and religiously polarized, who would take action against people like Asaram Bapu? And of course, like there are many of them, they are in jail. But mostly, you would confront some kind of a reluctance when it comes to taking action against such godmen. How would one take action then when
So
the
it's
political
extremely,
environment supports them? Yeah.
you see, you will not get political support as far as prosecuting these people are concerned. It is the few good police officers, honest people, and the prosecuting lawyer who
Yeah.
stay true to the cause and who are relentless, and they pursue it as a see it as a wrong, and they see it as a duty, that this conviction, which is extremely rare, is got. I mean, you can read the this thing of Asharam Bapu, what the prosecutor and the that inspector general of, I think, which particular district where the case all started.
Yeah.
No, had it not been for those people who
Yeah.
ultimately arrested him in a different state, I forget the details, it would not have happened. So what we say, the few good men are the ones who take on these godmen, and what is missing is just one O, good man and godmen.
True.
So that is what. Otherwise, they act with impunity. I mean, look, Asharam Bapu, I can be very sure that those were not the only women whom he
Yes.
exploited sexually. Similarly, with Ram Rahim, those were not the
Yes.
only this thing. There must be hundreds before them, before their luck ran out. Before somebody, chose to stand up and somebody chose to prosecute them. And why
Absolutely.
is it that these are the ones who are always, I mean, there's another one over here. Now, of course, he's gone somewhere. He used to be about 30 kilometers from where I live. This Nityanand. You will find all sorts of, videos, and now he has gone to one country which he thinks, or island that he owns and all. So these are all people. The point is that they are heavily financed, and I don't know from where so much of money comes. I mean, I can
Right.
understand a couple of crores. So there are various
Right.
angles to it. And one last thing I would like to point out is that in India, 98% of people are believers. In country like England, less than 50% are believers. So this ratio, what you are saying, it doesn't matter. I mean, poor people have their own god, rich people have their own god. It's like Manu hierarchy. So that is also there. They'll worship
That's
Vishkarma. You will worship Lakshmi. He
yeah.
will worship. That type of hierarchy is also there. So it makes a
But
very
no, this does make the situation very sensitive also for the officials who are handling it. I mean, we cannot keep on blaming the police all the time. But I'll come to you for the concluding remarks, Mr. Azad. That how does one fix the accountability in this particular stampede case? Now, this Godman is absconding. The FIR has the name of some Dev Prakash Madhukar and a few other people are there. But and where is this man? Has he got protection from somebody who's local? What if he's getting protection politically? There are already pictures of him and Akhilesh Yadav doing the rounds because that's from the Mainpuri area from which Akhilesh belongs. And people since morning have been discussing that Akhilesh has been very close to him. So already there's a lot of politics on him. So how does one fix the accountability in this particular case? If I can ask you like 3 steps to a prescription, if you can give as far as accountability is concerned, what would you say?
I think the first thing to do is to add his name to the FIR, and that can be done after preliminary inquiry, because when your preliminary investigation rather, that when you're writing your case diary and you see the evidence over there, the godman or whatever his name is, he was clearly aware. Arun just told you that while he was going, he could have waited for another half an hour. The entire stampede took place when the Sevadars did not allow the people even to go out. I mean, all of them didn't want to come and touch his feet. Some of them wanted to go out because of the heat and the oppression and the closed, confines. They did not allow them to go there. Nahi, pehle Baba jayenge. He was quite aware of what is happening, number one. Number two, whatever had been the arrangement, as Arun said, 70-30 tha, jaisa bhi tha, he was well aware that this congregation, we have applied for about 80,000. That he would be told, and that
some
people are about
2 lakh people turned up.
yeah, 2 lakh people turned up. So what I'm saying is there are very, very logical grounds. What I'm saying is even evidence is there that this man, since he's in the full knowledge of what has happened, that his name should be in the FIR. That is number 2. And I think after that, you need a very brave investigator. The procedure has been, set in motion by ADG inquiry karenge, ye karenge. That is not the point. The point is the actual investigation, as Arun was saying. Who is the investigator, the brave man who ferrets out all the evidence? Because there are so many things staring you in the face over there in terms of evidence. How those people were dying, how the trains were there, how that Uber Khabar Jameen was there, how there were no exits. So this shows a real, a kind of a crass, negligence, and not only crass culpability, in fact, when you're organizing a big event. So that will be number 2. And number 3 would be a very, very effective, prosecution of the case within the year. Because, mind you, I'm witness that when I was even DIG, people from the forensics had rung me up and said that man, sir, had offered me 15,000 to change the sample. Now, this is the ground reality. So if you do these 3 things, you're bound to get this man. And once you get somebody legally, there is no greater victory than that. If you have a legal victory, you get him convicted in a particular court. Of course, he'll go on till the Supreme Court or whatever, highest court of God also. That's another thing. But if you get him convicted in the trial court, that will be a real victory.
So we'll have to wait and watch. Already the judicial inquiry has been instituted, and what happens with this PIL in the Supreme Court, we do not know. The courts still have to open up the next week. So we'll have to wait and watch what happens. But yes, it's a big loss for the families who have lost their sons, who have lost their mothers, who've lost their wives. It's a very, very tragic incident. But the big godman still remains he remains an absconder, and there are no answers where he is, who's giving him protection. I'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Mr. Azad, Mr. Agarwal. And one appeal to the viewers who are watching this discussion: subscribe to our channel, send us your feedback, and stay tuned to The Federal. Thank you.